My ex turned me into her shopping partner. I never imagined that my ex, Emma, would have such a lasting impact on me. In fact, I thought the day we broke up would mark the end of something I didn't think much about. We'd been together for almost 3 years, and I was comfortable in that familiar routine. There was a rhythm to our relationship, a series of small habits that kept everything in place. Yet, after we separated, I couldn't shake the strange feeling that something was missing. Emma and I had always been good friends, even after the breakup. There was no drama between us, no animosity, just the silent understanding that we'd outgrown each other. But, despite it all, we kept in touch, met up occasionally, and if I'm being honest, I missed her more than I wanted to admit. She'd been a constant presence in my life, and I wasn't sure how to navigate things without her. It was a lazy Saturday afternoon when I first heard from her after a few weeks of silence. The text read simply, "Hey, it's been forever. Let's catch up. Wanna go shopping? I miss our mall days." I stared at my phone for a moment. Shopping? That was Emma's thing, not mine. She'd always been the one excited about finding the latest trends while I stood beside her, bored, impatient, and more focused on where we'd go for lunch afterward than the clothes on display. But something about the message hit me in a way I hadn't expected. Was it loneliness? Nostalgia? Whatever it was, I found myself typing back, "Sure, I'm up for it." That's how I found myself in the middle of a mall, standing beside her in front of a boutique I had never even noticed before. The air inside was filled with the subtle scent of perfume, and the lights overhead made everything shimmer with a polished, inviting glow. The racks were lined with clothes that sparkled, rich fabrics that invited touch. I stood there, suddenly very aware of the fact that I was out of my element. "Come on, I have a feeling this will be your store," Emma said with a grin, as though she were a child sharing a secret. She winked and nudged me forward. "You trust me, don't you?" I hesitated but followed her lead. And so it began, the strange yet oddly captivating journey that would change me in ways I could never have predicted. We had barely entered the boutique when a woman behind the counter greeted Emma with a smile that seemed a little too knowing. "Another one for the collection?" she teased, looking me up and down with an intrigued gaze. Emma chuckled, glancing at me. "This is Noah, my ex. We're still friends, believe it or not." The woman raised an eyebrow but said nothing further, simply nodding. "Well, welcome. Make yourselves at home. And Noah," she added, her tone playful, "feel free to try on anything you like. I have a feeling you'll be surprised." I froze for a second, feeling the weight of her gaze. Emma caught it and grinned. "Don't worry, it's all in good fun. Trust me. You might even like it." I opened my mouth to protest, but stopped myself. What was the harm in humoring her for a bit? Emma and I had always had an unspoken bond that made me go along with things I would have otherwise avoided. So, with a reluctant sigh, I found myself looking at the first item she handed me, a black dress shirt that looked like it belonged in a much fancier wardrobe than mine. "I'm not sure about this," I muttered, holding it up against myself in front of the mirror. But when I looked at my reflection, something shifted. The shirt didn't look out of place on me at all. It fit perfectly, its fabric smooth against my skin. I had always worn the same type of clothes, jeans, t-shirts, and sneakers, but this was something different. Emma stepped back and watched me closely. "You've got the look, Noah." I knew it. "You have the potential for more than just plain clothes." Her voice was soft, like she was guiding me through something much deeper than just picking out a shirt. I stared at myself in the mirror, and for the first time in a long while, I didn't feel the usual discomfort of my own reflection. Instead, I felt curious, maybe even intrigued. What if? We spent the rest of the afternoon hopping from store to store, but what started as a simple shopping trip began to turn into something far more. Every time Emma handed me something to try on, I felt a little less hesitant. First, it was the dress shirt, then a pair of fitted pants, and soon, I was slipping into a light blue sweater that Emma picked out for me. It wasn't just about clothes anymore, it was about who I could be when I stepped outside of my usual self. Each new outfit I wore made me feel a little bolder, a little more open. At one point, Emma led me to a section filled with accessories. "You never know until you try," she said, tossing a necklace into my hands. I looked at it in surprise. It was a simple silver chain, not too flashy, but elegant. "Just try it on," she coaxed. I hesitated, but something inside me wanted to go along with it. As I slid the necklace on, I stared at my reflection again, seeing a new version of myself. There was a quiet confidence in how I looked. I wasn't just Noah anymore. I was someone else, someone who could express themselves in ways I had never thought possible. "See?" Emma smiled at me. "You've got it. Just a little extra touch, and you're good to go." But it wasn't just about the clothes or the accessories. It was something deeper, like a crack in the wall I had built around myself. I had always kept my identity tightly controlled, shaped by who I was supposed to be. The idea of pushing beyond that was terrifying, but at that moment, I was beginning to understand what Emma had been telling me. There was more to me than I had ever allowed myself to see. The more I indulged Emma's suggestions, the more I began to realize something troubling. I was starting to feel different in ways I couldn't quite explain. My friends began to notice the changes. I wasn't dressing in the same old way anymore. My wardrobe had grown more colorful, and I'd even started experimenting with a bit of makeup, subtle stuff at first, just a bit of foundation, and some light eyeliner. Mark, my best friend, was the first to say something. "What's going on, Noah? You look different." "Not like you." I felt my stomach twist. It wasn't the judgment in his voice that bothered me. It was the fact that I wasn't sure how to explain what I was feeling. "I don't know," I replied honestly. I'm trying something new, I guess." But even as I explained, I could tell Mark didn't get it. He didn't understand why I was suddenly so into clothes and style. It wasn't just about following trends, it was about finding a part of myself that had been buried for years. I didn't have the words to explain that to him. Emma, on the other hand, was supportive the whole time. "You're discovering who you really are," she said one afternoon, when we were sitting at a cafe. She reached across the table and placed her hand over mine. "It's okay to feel uncertain, but don't hide from it." As much as her words helped, I couldn't shake the fear. Would I ever really be accepted if I showed the world this side of me? Could I even accept it myself? One day, Emma suggested we go to a party. "I've been invited to a get-together with some of my friends," she said. "Why don't you come? I think you'll have fun." There was something about the way she said it, so casual, so sure, that made me say yes without thinking. The day of the party, I spent hours getting ready. I had picked out a dress, a sleek black number that hugged my body in all the right ways. I spent a long time on my makeup, experimenting with a bold red lipstick I had never dared to wear before. By the time I was finished, I hardly recognized myself in the mirror. But I didn't feel scared or self-conscious. For the first time in ages, I felt confident. When Emma saw me, she gasped, "Noah, you look amazing." Her voice was full of awe, and I felt my heart skip a beat. There was no judgment in her words, just pure admiration. At the party, everything changed. People were surprised at first, but once they saw me, they didn't care about the labels. They just accepted me. The version of myself I had been so scared to show was now out in the open. And it felt incredible. Later in the evening, as the party wound down, I stepped out onto the balcony, feeling the cool night air brush against my skin. Emma joined me, and we stood there for a while, silently watching the city lights. "You've really changed, Noah," Emma said softly. "But in a good way. You've embraced who you are." "I'm proud of you." Her words struck me deep, and for the first time, I didn't feel like I was pretending or hiding. I had embraced something about myself that I had buried for too long. The old Noah was still there, but he had grown, evolved, and become something better. The weeks that followed were full of new discoveries and new challenges. I still faced moments of doubt, but every time I looked at myself in the mirror, I knew I was becoming more of the person I was meant to be. Emma and I were still close, still friends, but our bond had shifted. It wasn't about our past anymore. It was about who we had both become. And I learned something important. It's okay to let go of the old version of yourself. The journey of self-discovery is messy, complicated, and sometimes overwhelming. But it's also the most empowering thing you can do. The truth is, transformation isn't just about changing your clothes. It's about changing how you see yourself and allowing yourself to grow, to evolve, and to embrace who you really are. And sometimes, the people who encourage you to step out of your comfort zone, whether they're friends, family, or exes, are the ones who help you unlock your true potential.